There are tons of ways to explain the importance and talent of Greg Schiano as Rutgers head coach. But here's one simple way. Before Greg Schiano came there, they had been to one bowl game ever. Since Greg took over, they're now up to 10. Although it's been a while, none since the last 6 years. Can he right that ship once again? Here's their head man with Dave.
Very pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Scarlet Knights, Greg Schiano. Coach, let's start with this. You made so much progress last year. You have a ton of production coming back to this team. How do you carry forward the momentum?
Well, I think it's just what we've done all along. That's work really hard and have a unity of the team. We got to make sure that none of these guys that have all of a sudden gotten a little attention, that they don't get ahead of themselves, and it's all about the team. I don't see that happening, but that's something you have to guard against for sure.
How does the fact that you have so much back help you accelerate your process?
Well, I think, when you're dealing college football, you have a big difference. You have some guys that are 17 and 18, and now with these super seniors, you have a good number of 23-year-old men. And I think that kind of differential, if used correctly, they can really be strong leaders.
Give me a sense as we go through some of these position groups. I think the obvious area of concern is the offensive line. Where do you feel like you've made the greatest strides there?
Well, I think we're making strides. I think it's a kind of a current statement. Each day we go out and I think we're getting a little bit better. We're moving people a little bit more. Some of that happened in the off season. The development of those guys in the strength and conditioning area, and then to be able to take that and bring it out to the practice field, and eventually now we take it to the game field. But we need to, in the run game especially, we need to be able to move defenders, and we have really good running backs. We don't have to give them a lot of space, but there's got to be some daylight.
Yeah, skill positions are really impressive. Running back, wide receiver as well. Quarterback position is always going to get a lot of focus. What do you make of Noah Vedril's camp to this point?
Good. I think today wasn't his best day. I think he was aiming a little bit and maybe a little bit fatigued. It's been a rough start to camp. But he knows our offense. He and Sean are connected. Sean Gleeson, our offensive coordinator. They really understand each other. So I think that's going to be a big part of leading our offense.
Big plays. Rutgers made a good amount of them last year. Top third in the league, or better, in 40, 50, and 60-yard plays last season. One of the big threats for a big play every down is Bo Melton, who's with Griffith now.
Pleased to be joined by Bo Melton. Tell me about the practice tempo that you guys go, because you guys are flying around a lot in practice.
Yes, sir. We play at like a high level in practice, like a game. We try to come out here and just make it like a game environment every day so that we keep the tempo up, especially as like a whole unit on offense. That's our thing. We like to play fast. What's
been the difference with Coach Gleeson really having an opportunity to go through the spring and now in the camp? What have you seen some of the differences, just how you guys have been able to prepare?
I'll say that's the electric people we have on the field. Everybody's coming back. We have a lot of people that came back this year. So just the people that we're putting in positions to make plays and how fast our offense is going and growing. For us to have Coach Gleeson for another year is like we learn the playbook more and it's electrified for offense.
What are some of the points that you guys, the points of emphasis you've had during camp to get this team where it needs to be offensively?
The points we had was just playing fast. That's our first point that we had. Getting lined up, playing fast, playing through the whistle, and just competing for the ball all the time. That's been our main points this camp.
Is it a difference in mentality when you're preparing for a conference opponent, having one, first game, jumping out of the box?
Yeah, we just want to take every game one by one. We say one game week. Try to think about that one opponent. It's coming quick. You have about 16 days probably now, 17 days, and we're ready to go.
Tell us about some of the other guys in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, of course. We have a lot of talent in that room. We have a transfer that came in, Brandon Sanders. We have Aaron Crookshank, Isaiah Washington, Shameem Jones. The list goes on. We have some guys that can play. And just the speed that we have and this electric people that we have, Aaron Crookshank is very electric in space. So the way we're going to use us is probably going to be really good for us this year.
Getting the wins in the special team game, particularly punt return, is a big part of this team as well, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
I feel like just as the players that we have, and we have Joshua Youngblood too, and I think it's going to be really good weapons for us in our games.
Well, thanks a lot. Have a great season. Stay healthy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's year 2 for Greg Schiano after a 3-6 debut turn last fall. Also year 2 for his coordinators. Both coordinators explain where their team is since they finally had a full spring and summer this time around.
We're visiting with Sean Gleeson, offensive coordinator at Rutgers. Coach, how much different is it having a spring practice, not having a COVID issue, in putting in and coaching your offense?
Yeah, I think first thing, I think we did a really good job in the COVID era of installing the offense and not making any excuses, and I think that really kind of got us ahead of the curve a little bit, and we had some success last year because of it. But there's no substitute for the foundation and development that you can undergo in a spring practice, so that when you pick up in training camp, some of the scenarios and things that happen in the spring, they're not super far away in your mind. They're right there to pick up on and develop on. So I feel like we've hit a nice stretch here where the guys have some retention and they're moving forward in the way that we want them to move forward.
Share with us some of Noah Vedral's best qualities.
He's incredibly smart. He's been around a couple different offenses now, and he's seen a lot of football, so there's not too much that shakes him. And he's a sponge, and I think in our quarterback room, a really great advocate for all the guys. So, whether it's him picking someone else up or, the reciprocating of some other guy kind of patting him on the back, I think that's Noah's personality and willingness to share and be a good teammate that I think makes him special.
What are some of the specific things you want to see as far as improvement from last year on offense?
We've got to get the ball. One study that we did in the offseason was, the Big Ten, how we relate to other people as it relates to getting the ball down the field. So I think in frequency we're doing it at a regular rate. I think some of the returns that we get and managing the football, make sure it doesn't end up in someone else's hands. I think that we can take a big step forward this year in the way that we complete the ball 15-plus yards down the field, because we know that at Rutgers we're trying to get enough 25-yard plays in a game to kind of impact winning percentage. And, we know that comes as a result of throwing it over 15 yards, so we got to get better in that area.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
have a great
thank you.
year.
Appreciate it.
Visiting with Coach Robb Smith, defensive coordinator at Rutgers. Coach, how's it been? You've had a regular spring practice, no COVID, you're into a regular season. How much different is it than a year ago on how you're coaching the team?
It's really been a work in progress from the standpoint that we actually have a foundation now in place that we weren't able to have last spring. So our guys in the off season, the one thing about our guys, they really love football and they worked really, really hard, and that propelled them into the spring. And in terms of learning the system, took another great step this summer when the guys were on their own, and feel like we've made a lot of progress again here in training camp. So we've really kind of upped it a notch or two as we head into the regular season.
Tell us about some of the leaders that have totally bought in and help you implement the defense.
For us in our defense, it all starts up front. Julius Turner, our nose guard, has been, he's a guy that we can really hang our hat on and count on, and he's done an excellent job as a player as well. And then our linebacker core, with 03 and Tyshawn Fogg and Tyreek. So those guys really provide a lot of leadership. And then Christian Izzian and Trey Avery in the back end. So I feel like we're really, really strong up the middle with our guys, and that's where the leadership really starts on this defense.
The spread has taken over college football. It's actually taken over pro football as well. So it's been a while that defensive coaches like yourself have had a chance to study it and to challenge it. What are some of the trends in stopping the spread?
I think the biggest thing is to match the people that are on the field. You want to have the right people in place from your personnel standpoint to match their personnel, and then from there, you got to defend the entire length or entire width of the football field. So you got to be able to leverage everything and set edges, and that's going to put some people in some more man-to-man situations. But as long as you can get the right people out in the field and get the right matchups, I think that gives the defense the best shot possible.
Appreciate your time. Have a great year.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Did you know 92% of their production from last year returns this year? How about that? Tops in the conference. Dave and Joshua now on how they could put up some big numbers this fall.
Joshua got a chance to watch Rutgers go through its practice. And when you think about the improvement last season with Rutgers, staggering how much better they got offensively. More than 3 touchdowns per game improvement in terms of scoring offense. Now, let's be honest here. They had a lot of room for improvement. I mean, they averaged less than 6 points a game in conference play the previous year. So, again, got it up right around 27. What have you seen in terms of the offense this year and how they could build on that?
Yeah, I think it starts with the offensive skill. They've got plenty of guys who could play out there. A couple of guys who caught my eye today, Isaiah Pacheco, who's a player who we've talked about on this network frequently as a playmaker, and he was out there doing his thing. You also got Bo Melton, who we all think is a very good player as well at the wide receiver spot. And then Aaron Cruikshank, who was a guy who made a transfer from Wisconsin a couple of years ago. He's standing out as well. So as you look at that offense Probably got a little bit of a way to go on the offensive line, but in terms of the skill positions, I think they're in a good spot.
The return specialist of the year last year in the conference as well, Cruikshank was. So guy who can beat you in a lot of different ways. What about on the other side of the ball defensively? This is a team that caused a lot of havoc last year, led the Big Ten in tackles for loss 1 year after finishing last in that category. What stood out as you watched that side?
Yeah, I think it starts with Fadakasi. They call him 03 around here. He's a really good player, and he's very disruptive. He plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage, which is something that they want. And when you look at him, he's a guy who lines up off the ball as a linebacker, but they bring him close to the line of scrimmage, so he offers that versatility. Another guy that stands out is Isian. And in the back end of that defense, he's also versatile where you see him playing at multiple levels, but he's a ball hawk and a guy who brings a lot of power when he makes plays. So defensively, they've got some guys who are out there as leaders, but also really good playmakers, so they're in a good spot as well.
Isian 4 picks last year to lead the Scarlet Knights.
Coach, this is really our first opportunity to see Rutgers, right? Because we didn't get a chance to see him last year. What are your first impressions of him?
I think the practice was probably one of the best, and we've seen a lot of good practices. One of the best practices we've seen. They started off with a leverage drill, which we've seen different places, ball security. It's a lot like Michigan State where everybody's hustling drill to drill. And you're right, Howard. As I was watching practice, I was trying to think back to last year. We weren't here. So this is really our first look at Greg Schiano. As they recruit better, and I know you're going to talk about that, they certainly have the plan in place.
Listen, this is going to be a tough team. There's no question about that. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed watching this team last year. It's a matter of them getting to the fourth quarter. But one of the things that stuck out to me is what they've been able to do on the recruiting trail during the pandemic. This is a good-looking freshman class, and there's some players I think are going to be able to help this team this year.
And let's not forget about the first 3 games. They're all matchup opponents. They absolutely have a really good chance to get a great start, and then they obviously get into conference play. So between the talent they brought in, the structure, and the schedule, I have to believe it's going to be a really good year for Rutgers.
Yeah, another opportunity to see a fun team.